Hey friend, welcome to Healthy with Heather Brown. If you don't know where to start with balancing being healthy and loving the life you already have, I got you, friend. And yes, of course, we're still going to enjoy some Chick-fil-A. I'm here to come alongside you and encourage you to fall more in love with your creator, your spouse, your kids, and your own health journey. We'll talk about how to let your good things grow until they become daily habits, with the occasional dad joke and point of view from my Yankee hubby, Eric. Don't stress. Let's hop on this Hot Mess Express together. So join me, Heather Brown, as we unpack what it looks like to live a life well loved. Oh my stars, you guys. How are we almost at the end of this year? I do not even understand where it went. If you feel equally overwhelmed and ecstatic about getting into the holidays with your kids, I feel the exact same way. Truth be told, there's a lot of pressure that comes with the holidays. Think about all the things we have to squeeze into the fall and winter. Games, practices, pumpkin patch visits, Halloween parties, Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, cute family photo shoots, Christmas parties, buying gifts. Everything that you cram into October, November, and December can leave you seriously feeling like you ran a marathon by the end. What if we found a way together to savor the season instead of cram it all hurriedly in? I don't want you to feel like it was all a blur, so I figured out what would help me in this season to stay on track and put it all in one comprehensive and pretty, if I do say so myself, planner. It's a way for you to make the most of the holiday season and includes memory verses to do with your kids, traditions, and recipes, plus doable health reminders for each busy month. If you need someone to reconfigure your heart and brain so the holidays will be life-giving instead of soul-sucking, this practical resource is your shortcut. Head to www.mylifewellloved.com/ebook to grab yours now and use code podcast to get 15% off. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Healthy with Heather Brown. I am so stinking excited today to introduce you guys to Dr. Will Cole. If you're not already familiar with him because of his New York Times bestselling intuitive fasting book, he's also a podcaster at The Art of Being Well, a functional medicine expert, and one of the first functional medical telehealth centers in the world. Super, super excited to have him on the podcast. And my personal little excitement was when I found out that he had a connection to Gwyneth Paltrow, so we'll definitely have to get into that as well. So without any further ado, welcome to the show, Dr. Will Cole.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited. I need you as my hype man every day.
Hey, I love
feel
you.
Better about myself.
You just put me in your pocket. I'll come along with you anywhere. Love it. So tell me, Dr. Will, a little bit about what is a telehealth clinic for people who are like, what is that? And maybe a little bit more about you.
Sure. So my passion, my heart is to really be a part of people's health journey. So telehealth, we started it all these years ago for over 12 years at this point. We didn't have the language of telehealth 12 years ago. We called it a virtual functional medicine clinic because that was the best I could do with my words of like, oh, right, that kind of explaining descriptively what we do. We were in a part of the world. We're based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And a lot of people were not in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and they were in different states and countries and just needed access to this exciting field of healthcare called functional medicine. So we ship labs to wherever you're at in the world, and we get to the root cause of why you're going through what you're going through. And then we provide a functional medicine perspective and protocols to get you feeling great, to really be supportive of your health and reclaim your wellness, if you will. So we have a special passion, and most of our patients are struggling with some sort of autoimmune inflammation issue, and that can manifest in many different ways, but different thyroid problems, things like fatigue, brain fog, people that have inflammatory digestive problems as well. And oftentimes it's a confluence of those issues as well. So that we clinically monitor people and coach people and guide them to vibrant wellness. And I just love it. It's so much freaking fun to like look at labs, get better. And those labs are a reflection of why they feel the way that they do, to give people answers as to why they feel the way they do. Because so many people honestly go through years of medical gaslighting and what I call med-splaining, which is kind of like mansplaining, but with your health information. Just like, oh, you're just depressed, right? I mean, it's funny because it's so ridiculous, but it's so messed up at the same time. It's like, this is people's lives, and this is the sacred responsibility for me to really give people answers, to hold space for them, to let them know they're not crazy. They're just haven't been given the due diligence and thoughtfulness that I think they deserve. So that's what I do, 10, 11 hours a day. So like the books and the podcast, they're just an outpouring of my clinical work with my patients. And I just write about the things that I get to see, or speak about the things that I get to see.
So I'm going to ask you a little bit of like almost break it down in toddler type terms, because I actually didn't even know much about natural or functional medicine until just the past couple of years. So for people that are like, what do you mean? Like, I've always gone to my doctor, and so what does he do differently? Can you break that down a little more?
Sure. So the first thing is we interpret labs using a thinner reference range. So anybody that's listening to this or watching this, they'll know, okay, when I get my labs, there's my number. And then there's this reference range, this interval of numbers that I'm being compared to. Well, we get that reference range based off of a statistical bell curve average of people who go to labs. People that are predominantly going to labs, or sadly, are people with health problems. There's a lot of people, especially women, that know intuitively something's off here. Like my fatigue, my weight gain, my digestive problem, my brain fog, my low sex drive, my hair loss, my whatever, my skin problems. They go to their doctor, and the doctor says they'll run the basic labs. And oftentimes they're told, the labs more or less look all right. You must just be depressed. Here's an antidepressant, or you're just getting older, or you're just a new mom, or you're just stressed. And I mean, what they're unintentionally telling the person is they're a lot like the other people with health problems that we're comparing you to. And comparing yourself to people that have health problems is no way for you to find out why you feel the way that you do. So in functional medicine, we're looking at optimal, not average. We're comparing you to vibrant wellness. That's where the body is functioning the best. That's where we get our name in functional medicine. So we're looking at the functional range, which typically is a tighter interval of numbers, X to Y interval within that larger reference range. So we're just looking at optimal, so we can get you there. So if you're not there, we can get you there. And we also can find out what are the gray areas, because health and health problems exist on a spectrum. And by the time somebody has those symptoms, they didn't happen overnight. So we can understand the continuum between optimal function and dysfunction. And then we realize we're all created differently. So the major heart of functional medicine is bioindividuality, and realizing that you cannot be reductive when it comes to the complexity of somebody's physiology. So we really customize and tailor health protocols, action steps, tools within their toolbox based off of them, not just some diagnosis code. There's a lot of possibilities. Like, for example, a good example here is like chronic fatigue syndrome, being diagnosed with that, right? First of all, that diagnosis and diagnoses like that, it's kind of like just a description of terms. Anybody that has chronic fatigue syndrome will already tell you they already know they're chronically tired. Right. But we have to ask the question, why do you have CFS in the first place? It could be any number of variables. So we look at the confluence of variables that make that check engine light on, in this case, the fatigue on in your case. So for one person, it's going to be A, B, C, and D, but the next person is going to be E, F, G, H. So we have to look at the confluence of factors and not just the check engine light, and diagnose a disease and match it with a medication. We want to actually find out why you have the problem in the first place. So that's really what it is. We want to really be thoughtful and get to the root cause of why you're going through what you're going through, which, it's really there's no quick fixes for any of these people, but it's one it's a truly a path that will enable them to deal with this and really live the life they were created for.
Amen. I love that. I'm like, yes, sir. Now, when you talk about this, if women are listening to this and they're thinking, yeah, that is me. I am tired all the time. And my doctor did say that my levels are normal. How do they go about tackling that? And if it's, maybe they want to reach out to you, maybe they want to use your telehealth clinic. Can you tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's different levels of, and that's why I write books too, and do the podcast, and have written like hundreds and hundreds of articles, is because I realize my patients are just scratching the surface of the epidemic level of what's going on with these issues. So it depends on where you're at with your health journey, right? I mean, there's some people who are just hearing this for the first time and are like, what the heck? And really want to empower themselves and learn more. or maybe they want to try to make positive changes in their own life. And I think that's the brilliant thing about podcasts, the democratization of this information, the decentralization of this information is really powerful, because I see so many people on social media that have just done things that I mention, or read a book or listen to a podcast, and it changes their entire life. They don't even need to see a functional medicine doctor. So I would say, if you're new to this concept of really learning about your health, dig into conversations like this on podcasts. Go and pick up a book about these sort of things, because you may be able to move the needle on your own, which is really cool. And then the second group of people are the people that I typically see. They're the ones that do know a lot about health, typically, not everybody, but they're very well read. They've at least done their research, let's just say that. And they eat better than the average person. They are taking care of themselves as far as, physical activity, wellness, but they're still, despite all these good things, still spinning their wheels. They're still stuck at this plateau. They probably are better off. Most of them are better off than they would be if they weren't doing these things, but they're not where they need to be. And that's where we come in typically. We typically would just, hey, let's look at everything that's being done or has been done. Let's look at any previous labs that are, within the past year or so. Let's really give them the thoughtfulness that they need. And then let's run labs. Let's start leaning in and taking it to the next level to give them answers and to give this the due diligence that it needs. So if somebody get interested in that, they can just go to drwillcole.com. There's a consultation, become a patient page, and we help people around the world for this. And there's different options. We have concierge models. We have flexible sort of a la carte options called Starting Point. We have group options as well via telehealth. We wanted a model that enabled us to make it even more accessible and affordable to people too. So the point is, I want people to have choice when it comes to their wellness. And we try to do that with the telehealth center. So yeah, that's what I would recommend for people that want to learn more.
That's amazing. And I feel like, Dr. Cole, because you've been in this obviously for so many years, I want to let our listeners that may be like, what the heck are they talking about right now? If you go look up his podcast, it is called The Art of Being Well. You have so many phenomenal guests on, and they talk so much more in depth about these things. I actually saw that you have Kelly LeVeque on one of your prior episodes, and she's coming on soon to Healthy with Heather Brown. I'm so amped. But who are some of the people that you would say are kind of inspiring you right now, and or you feel like do a great job of breaking down this type of health for people who want to start on their own learning journey?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Kelly LeVeque's an old friend of mine. She's fantastic. She's a nutritionist. She's doing super smart things. I actually was in Los Angeles speaking recently at an event, and I was about to start with the event, and then I saw her and someone else that I know at the back of the room waving me down. Like, they wouldn't let her in the room because the talk was sold out. And so I ran in the back and I got to see her. I hadn't seen her in person since before the pandemic, so it was cool to see Kelly.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, I just saw her last week, actually. But yeah, just literally a week ago.
Love it.
So she's great. A lot of my friends are actually at this event last week. Max Lugavere is a great resource. Has a lot of good information. I saw him last week. Dr. Stephen Gundry is really great. He has a lot of information. Dave Asprey, who actually was his event, he's a lot of great information. Yeah, so there's a lot of people within the wellness space. Sean Stevenson is without a doubt one of the smartest people. All the people I just mentioned are really smart too. But Sean Stevenson, the Model Health Show, he's so freaking smart. He's so brilliant. So, I mean, check out his podcast. I've been on that one. Yeah, I mean, there's some people that come to mind.
I'm furiously mentally taking note of I've got to go look up all these people and make sure I'm following them. So don't worry, you guys, we'll put them in the show notes so you guys can easily access them. And then maybe even, I feel like going off of that, what would you say is the thing that you would say to beginners? If you don't do anything else, just do this. Just start here. Obviously, You said learning, but is there any supplement or anything like that you're like, everybody should be taking this, and I can't believe it's not common knowledge?
Yeah, totally. Look, I think that first, for the practical stuff, like the more than the nutrition, practical things, I actually talk about this in all my books, but in The Inflammation Spectrum, which is my second book, I think it's a great starting point for people that want to learn about themselves. Because in that book, I started that book off with a quiz, and I adapted that quiz from questions that I asked patients. So I just adapted basically my consultation experience to that quiz form. So it kind of gives them a good functional medicine experience on bioindividuality, how we're all different, and what areas that may, based on their scores, should focus on. We actually have that quiz at drwilkole.com too. It's the inflammation spectrum quiz. So the simpler plan in that book is, to me, most humans should at least explore this. It is avoiding or at least dramatically reducing what I would call the inflammatory core four. So that's going to be gluten-containing grains like wheat, barley, spelt, rye. Number 2 would be industrial seed oils like canola oil, vegetable oil, soybean oil. Third would be added sugar, and even the nicer natural sounding euphemisms for that, like anything with the suffix "-ose" or cane sugar, cane syrup, agave nectar, like really looking at higher fructose things and refined sugar, processed added sugar. And then fourth would be conventional dairy. And by that, I mean like straight up like regular cow's milk. So I feel like the average human being, if they decrease those, there would be a dramatic improvement in human health, like across the world. And that's not to say, and I have a nuanced conversation in the books and with patients, there are better versions of all of those foods, right? You can get sourdough bread, and some people tolerate those ones. You can get grass-fed organic, raw, like cultured kefir, like or yogurts, and that's better than the average dairy. You can get, or like organic canola oil, which I'm not gonna say it's a health food, but it's in the context of, let me say it this way: if somebody's having a lot of other healthy fats, some seed oils may not be that big of a deal for some people because they're getting so much omega-3s and monounsaturated fats from other foods that if you have some packaged foods with canola oil, it's not the end of the world. It's the imbalance of the omegas 3, 6, and 9, these polyunsaturated fats, that are the problem. So context matters with that. And the sugar, there are better versions of sugar. I'm not reducing that to like sugar is the devil and you have to avoid it at all costs. It's just, how much are you having, and then what's the quality of it? I'd much rather somebody go for a Manuka honey or like a pure maple syrup over like a high fructose corn syrup. So
especially check your labels on that. That's one thing that I feel like I've really been hyper aware of ever since I did my first round of Whole30, which I don't really do it that much anymore, honestly. But I really love that I learned to look for not just where it says sugar content, but also included added sugars. That's the real issue.
Yeah, for sure. And Melissa Urban's a good friend of mine too. I just saw her last week as well.
Love it.
She's the creator of Whole30. Yeah, we're basically very like incestuous group of wellness people. not actually incestuous, but it's a small little group, small little family. But so yeah, I think just looking at that, looking at nutrient density, increasing nutrient density, and going off of these decreasing the amount of inflammatory foods. That's what I would say would be a good idea to get started. And then look, it's not just about what you eat. It's about, I have a new book coming out. I just announced it on social media. It's called Gut Feelings. And I'm talking about the bidirectional relationship between mental health and physical health, that mental health is not separate from physical health, that mental health is physical health. So I talk about the vagus nerve and the gut-brain axis, and the gut's the second brain, and how I see this play out in people's lives. So it's not just about what you feed your gut, in your body. It's about what you feed your head and your heart, and it's about what's your head space and heart space in which you even eat these foods. So a major part of it, because when I say, okay, don't have these foods, and very prescriptive, if somebody is stressing and shaming and obsessing about that stuff, stressing about good things, healthy things, is not good for your health. So you need to go in with this with the paradigm shift and not go towards it with like sort of dieting, restrictive, obsessive consciousness. It's about shifting your paradigms, saying, look, I want to love and eat foods that love me back. And
amen. I'm like, let's put that on a quote right there.
And I'm always telling my patients, you can't heal a body you hate. You cannot shame your way into health. And I think a lot of times people come in with that sort of old school diet mentality that really focusing on foods that love you back is just food peace, right? It's just like loving your body, having respect for your body. And the analogy that I typically use is like a toxic relationship. Continuing to eat foods that don't love you back is like staying in a toxic relationship and wondering why you're still miserable. But then conversely, avoiding things that don't love you back isn't restrictive. It's self-respect. So I really want people to, if you say, what's one thing people should do? I really think they should have a paradigm shift about their relationship with their body and relationship with food, because that will determine the choices that they make in their life. Like if somebody realizes that they're a high-end luxury car and not an old jalopy, how will they fuel themselves? How will they take care of themselves? The people that have the Lamborghinis, they're parking in the back of the parking lot. They don't want to be around other people. They're filling it up with the best fuel. They're washing it and taking care of it. If you have an old like 89 whatever Toyota, you're not caring so much about what if it gets beat up a little bit more. Realize you're a Lamborghini, not an old beat up, lemon.
Well, as my husband would say, he used to drive this super old Previa minivan. You're not a Previa minivan.
Level
egg.
Up, level up.
Level up. That's right. So I'm totally going to switch gears on you here because number one, I can't wait for your book to come out. I am like very excited myself to read it, but I do want to talk a little bit about sleep because I feel like in general, that is such a key component of physical health that everybody can change their sleep patterns. Like, sure, some of you might be like, whoa, they're talking about seed oils, or I don't even know how to get the sugar out of my diet. But let's talk about something super basic. You can sleep. So let's talk about your like mentality on sleep, perhaps, Dr. Cole.
Yeah, I mean, sleep is not a luxury. It's an imperative, a mandate on your health. And people need to, we call it in wellness, we call it, improving your sleep hygiene. But I would say treating sleep with the respect it deserves. Just one night of poor sleep has been shown in research to spike high sensitivity C-reactive protein levels, or hsCRP. Basically, it's an inflammatory marker. hsCRP is a great surrogate lab. Basically, it's a good proxy to understand the state of inflammation levels in the body and understanding different types of interleukin levels. Inflammation, for people that are newer to this, it's the commonality between just about every health problem. Autoimmune conditions, metabolic issues, trouble losing weight, brain fog, fatigue, anxiety, depression. These are all inflammatory problems. So the foods we eat, every food we eat either feeds inflammation or fights it. And sleep, the quality of your sleep will either really calm inflammation or spike it up. So we have to look at optimizing the quantity and the quality of your sleep. So something that I track on with patients is track their REM and their deep sleep using different wearables like Oura Ring or Whoop Band. We use different metrics like this and track it over time. And you can actually see as you're supporting their parasympathetic nervous system, as you're getting their resting, digesting mechanisms improved. And part of that's supporting their gut, which is where 95% of serotonin is made in the gut and stored in the gut. And
ooh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's your second brain. If you think about it, the intestines even look like the brain. But 95% of serotonin is made in the gut, stored in the gut. 50% of dopamine is made in the gut, stored in the gut. So it is very much a major part of people's sleep cycle because serotonin is converted into melatonin, your sleeping time neurotransmitter. You need to be supporting gut health to get proper sleep at night. So yeah, it's all interconnected, and improving REM and deep sleep is something that you need to be improving because people can feel like, oh, I'm going to bed all right. I'm going to bed, early enough, but it's not a good quality sleep. And they're tossing and turning a lot. They're not breathing well at night, and they're waking up exhausted, and they're really never fully repairing at night because we need our brain to do and our body to upregulate something called autophagy, which is, if you break that word down, autophagy, it's the cellular recycling, sort of the body's ability to renew itself overnight. So it is something that we need to be supportive of, and autophagy can really do what it's supposed to do when we're getting proper REM and deep sleep. So I would look at a lot of different things. I mean, the screens, if they're doing screens too late at night, yeah, like, come on, like we have to do better here. have healthier boundaries with technology. If you have to be on your phone or watch TV late at night, then wear blue light blocking glasses, like really be diligent with that and get quality blue light blocking glasses. A lot of things on the market that aren't necessarily all as effective as the next one. And things like weighted blankets, temperature regulation at night. I mean, the optimal temperature at night is around 67 degrees at night. Many people...
I'm telling this to Eric. He always has it way too high. And I'm like, I am burning up, babe. I'm dying.
No, yeah. They tell them to turn it down. But if you can, like some people in the South are like, especially in the summer times, when I post about that, like my electric bill would be so through the roof. So they have like more cost effective ways for some people, or like you're saying, if like your partner wants it hotter than you, then there's things like the chili pad out there, which is like a bed pad that cools you off. So maybe you don't have to cool down your own whole house, but the actual pad will cool you off so you can improve sleep there.
Well, don't worry, because I'm going to be looking that up and putting it in the show notes, guys, because I'm like, I need that.
Yeah, chili pad. And there's binaural beats. There's different meditations at night that we do for patients. There's grounding practices, like something called PEMF, which is pulse electromagnetic frequencies, fields that can help calm and support the parasympathetic. I mean, all of these quote unquote biohacks or wellness tools are just supportive of our body's own rhythm. And we only need the tools because we're so disconnected from nature. That's the truth. We need the glasses, we need the PEMFs, we need the chili pads because we're all so disconnected from nature. Like if we were just walking outside barefoot and like saw the sun up and sundown, a lot of this stuff would reset on its own anyways. You don't need all the gadgets. But if we want to live in modernity and get all the benefits of that, but still like want to feel good and not feel miserable, wired and tired, then some of these devices and biohacks can be good to consider.
Dr. Will, you mentioned grounding and you mentioned several other things that I know lots of people are going to be like, I don't know what that is. I just want to encourage you guys. And this is how my research journey started in all of this is just Google it. Google's your friend. Go to DuckDuckGo, whatever you use to search, because there is literally life-changing information that is being suppressed from people finding it out because of just like, what was the term you used? Like the top down. What did you say in the beginning? I'm trying to remember. The centrality of the messaging of how you treat depression or anxiety. But there are other options other than just getting on a pill. And I highly encourage you to look into it. Listen to these podcasts. It could truly change your life. So.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Yeah. And realize too, it's not, you don't have to know all the things. I think people need to realize that leaning into it and just making incremental changes in your life can do amazing stuff. So remember, stressing about all this stuff is counterproductive. So really just whatever you have the vessel for, lean into that, even if it's just one thing. And then your vessel will expand a little bit. You can lean into another thing. So I'd rather someone be incremental, but it be sustainable versus feel that they have to do all the things and then it's unsustainable. Because then they feel, oh my gosh, it's too overwhelming. I'm just going to give up and do what I always did. So they go back to their baseline. That's not good. So we're really talking about sustainable life changes. And sometimes going too fast too soon isn't good for sustainability. You have to meet you where you're at with your season of life. Because sometimes it's like, okay, I'm a busy parent or I'm taking care of my or other responsibilities, or I'm working and being a parent. So you have to kind of be easy on yourself and give this whole process grace and lightness and not feel like you need to like be an aficionado overnight.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. It's baby steps. Just remember, you can't run a marathon on day one. You train by doing, a quarter of a mile first and maybe half a mile. You're building up step by step. So I agree. Don't get discouraged in it. The other thing I was going to ask you is back to sleep. You mentioned melatonin related to serotonin. Do you mind sharing? Because I know a lot of people that I know personally take melatonin every night. And it helps you fall asleep, but not stay asleep. Is that bad for your sleep cycle? Are you actually ruining your God-given ability by supplementing every night? Talk about that a little bit for me.
I think it's a tool to use for some people. My first goal would be to get your body to be producing melatonin on its own. So exogenously supplementing with melatonin chronically isn't advantageous for most people. Low doses of these things, extended release for seasons of your life, I can see them being beneficial for some people. But I would rather give maybe precursors or cofactors or upstream like root supporters that will enable your body to have proper circadian rhythm and proper nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system response, more than just think I have a pill for an ill. And it's a natural pill for the ill, but it's still that, right? It's like the natural thing, but it is still ultimately, why do you have the problem in the first place? Like, what if there is a melatonin problem? Like, why? And I don't feel like chronically using something just because it's natural if it's suppressing the brain's communication with the endocrine system, is that the best thing for you? Is it dangerous? I wouldn't go as far as that. I don't want to over dramatize it and make it like this horrible thing. But I do feel like there's better, more sustainable options for people to figure out why you have the sleep problem in the first place.
Okay, that's good. Are there any foods or any kind of supplements that you do recommend or don't recommend to help with sleep?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, avoiding those inflammatory foods that I mentioned earlier will be helpful. You could leverage the benefits of clean carbohydrates in the evening. I find that some patients that have trouble with sleeping, I feel like if they're doing maybe more wellness things like intermittent fasting, or if they're doing more lower carb or even relatively lower carb or ketogenic ways of eating, chronically doing that too much for your body may be not the most advantageous for sleep. And a lot of times people see their sleep worsening with these things that are done with the best of intentions. So maybe increasing whole food, fiber-rich, clean carbohydrates in the evening could be a great way to, what does that do? It is enabling your body to make more serotonin and melatonin is really what it is. So that pathway in which your body makes these neurotransmitters is in part carbohydrate dependent. So you want to think like starchy vegetables, like sweet potatoes or fruits or, things like that.
Sure.
That's something to do in the afternoon, maybe for dinner, making it more whole food, fiber rich, carb rich meal. Protein is important too. You want to make sure you're getting adequate, complete proteins throughout the day. But in the evening too, that can also, when I say evening, like towards the end of the day, that can also be something as well. I think everybody knows like the cliche of Thanksgiving with the turkey and the tryptophan making them tired. Like,
sure.
I think most people have the food comas because of the sugar and the carbs, if they had to tell me, like the grains. But I think we're blaming it on tryptophan more than we should be.
Sure, we're like, that's a good excuse to eat less turkey.
Yeah,
less
right.
Protein.
Less turkey, more pie, please.
Exactly.
But the food coma is coming from the pie, people. It's not coming from the pork turkey. But I will say this, that turkey does have tryptophan, which is supportive. Tryptophan is a precursor to serotonin. So in theory, it can help with that as well. So increasing clean protein, like grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish, turkey, organic pasture-raised chicken, a diversity of those throughout your life throughout your day can be helpful too. And then there's different. Sorry, go on. I
have to time out you and ask. So, do you have a favorite protein powder that you love? And I assume that you probably are like, well, I'd rather people get their protein from a whole food source, like you're listing.
Yeah.
But do you have a protein powder that if you had to choose one?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I like collagen proteins. I think that they're a good consideration. I don't think there should be your only source of protein, but I think the modern American diet is quite low with collagen rich foods. So I think collagen, bone broth, protein powders are a good consideration. I think dealing with people that have autoimmunity, which I do all day long, it's one of the most well-tolerated sources of protein, but there's great plant-based proteins too. Like there's one called Sacha Inchi, which is like a Brazilian nut that's pretty well tolerated by people. There's hemp protein can be fine for some people as well.
Sure.
So this is some plant-based ones as well. Yeah. And then there's different herbs that can be helpful for sleep as well. I mean, the valerian, you can do like a valerian tea. It's really helpful for sleep. Chamomile is great for sleep. And then you can get basically these amino acid serotonin precursors, which I actually like better than the melatonin. Again, getting your body extra nutrients to produce these things on its own. So things like 5-HTP, L-theanine, they'll help produce the neurotransmitters, not exogenously give your body tons of it.
Okay. Well, y'all all know how I feel about collagen. I talk about liquid collagen and collagen of all the kinds all the time. I'm obsessed with it.
Awesome.
I'm like, make me younger. Yes, please. I know that's not really how it works, but you know what I mean. Okay. So then the next thing is, I just want to hear from you. Is there anything that you would love for people to know that are tuning in? Like if you could say to any woman listening to this, if you're not taking magnesium or if you're not doing a daily supplement or if you're not getting this many hours of sleep, is there anything that you're like, please today do this for yourself?
Well, I would dial in your sleep. I mean, really, I think that's a good point that you highlighted here. I think 7 to 9 good quality sleep, like looking at your REM and deep sleep. If they wanted to track on like an Oura Ring or Whoop Band, they could do that. Number 2, I'd be looking at those inflammatory foods, decreasing those, increasing lots of nutrient dense foods, clean protein, healthy fats, lots of produce. cooking your vegetables down. If you have digestive problems, I think a lot of raw vegetables and fruits aren't necessarily ideal. So be mindful of having the produce, having the variety of fiber-rich foods, but maybe having them in more gentle ways, like soups and stews and things like that, while you heal your gut. And then long-term, more raw things can be brought in. And then the most common deficiencies that I see on patients' labs would be vitamin D for sure.
Okay.
We want it to be about 60 to 80. Most people are not. So maybe testing your vitamin D, considering supplementing with the vitamin D3 K2, which is another fat soluble vitamin that's oftentimes deficient with people. It's needed for regulating inflammation, supporting your immune system, supporting our mood. Our brain is rich with these vitamin D receptor sites. Vitamin D acts as almost a pro-hormone. It's more of a hormone, less of a vitamin. So looking at the vitamin D, getting it tested, you don't want to dose super high if you aren't going to test, but around 2,000 to 5,000 IUs of vitamin D3 should be good based on where you started out at on your levels. And then magnesium, honestly, is very low too. I mean, most people, we run a magnesium RBC test. Most people are deficient, and it impacts your mood, your energy, your sleep, your digestion, all the things. And then methylated B vitamins are definitely helpful for many people too, for hormonal health, brain health, mood health, regulating inflammation levels. So specifically methylfolate and methyl B12 or methylcobalamin. So if people just did all that stuff that I just said, it's not that much. I mean, maybe seem like a lot for the person that's like, what the heck? That's not a lot. I know that's relative for a health weirdo like me, but I don't think it's that much. And most of these are low cost or completely free things to do.
Yes. And I will say, Dr. Will, I go to basically a naturopath and chiropractor here in Birmingham that it very much so falls in line with a lot of the things that you talk about. He's done so much education for me. And he always says that when you're looking for vitamins, just look for ones that don't have fillers in them. So if there's any that you recommend that you just listed out as far as specific brand goes, I'll make sure to list those in the show notes for people afterwards with links, because I want to make it so easy to get the things that he is saying for you guys to do to better your health. I want to make it so easy for y'all to do starting today if you wanted to. And then why don't you tell us a little bit about your book that's coming out in March?
Thanks so much. Thank you. It's called Gut Feelings, and we're talking about the gut and we're talking about the feelings. So we're looking at how stress, shame, trauma, even intergenerational trauma, how that impacts our body, and really showing people this bi-directional relationship between mental health and physical health, how thoughts, emotions, the stress, shame, trauma, that side of things impacts our physical health, and then how physical health issues impacts our thoughts and emotions. So underlying gut problems, chronic infections, hormonal imbalances, how it impacts things like anxiety and depression and fatigue and moodiness and irritability. So it's just, as with everything else I do, it's just born out of what I get to see with patients and how we get them better. So it's for pre-order now. It's called Gut Feelings. And every month until the book comes out, we're giving away free stuff for people that pre-order, like free signed books, lots of cool things up and coming for the book release. So I'm very excited. As a author, I love educating people this way via books. It's like a new kid that comes out, it's born.
It really is.
Yeah. So I'm excited for it.
That's super cool. Well, I kept joking all throughout this season of the podcast. I've been like, this is my new podcast, baby. Like, I hope you like her. So funny. But I'll ask you my final question that I ask everybody on the show. And that is, what is your favorite thing in your health journey that's making you feel like you right now?
It's a great question. You know what it is? It's, for me, I think it's healthy boundaries, because I'm like not the best at saying no to things. And now, like, the older I get and realizing there's only so many hours in a day, is to just be okay with saying no, and not, it's done in kindness, but it's like, I can't do everything for everybody. And to say no to work functions and people want me to speak at certain events, it's like, no, we have like an event with my kids and I'm going to do that instead. So it's like, to me, that's making me feel great to be able to not burn myself out and to practice what I teach, right? I mean, what good would be a burnt out functional medicine doctor? I'd be messed up if I did that. So
that you would. Have you read, I mean, it's obviously geared more towards women, but have you heard of or read Lisa TerKeurst, The Best Yes?
I have not. I know Lisa TerKeurst. She's in North Carolina, right?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, I've never read the book though.
Okay, well, at least get like the highlights version of it, because it is exactly what you just spoke on, and it empowered me so much in that. And in fact, I make myself go back and read it occasionally, because I'm like, you do just get so out of balance so quickly, and you think like everything's the best, yes, but really it's not. It's just wild what we run ourselves into and the health issues that come from it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another book, Shauna Niequist. Have you heard of her before?
Yes.
She has a book like that too. Present Over Perfect, I think it's called.
Yes.
It's really good over that as well.
I have heard of that book, and I need to add it to my to-read list. So Dr. Cole, I'm so grateful you came on with me. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
And I'm so glad that Dr. Cole gave us his best yes. He didn't have to say yes. So I'm very, very grateful that he said yes to me and you guys and was here. It was just such an honor to interview him for me personally. And I really look up to his work and what he does. And I just want to highly encourage you guys, start small. It doesn't have to be this big undertaking. It can just truly be you getting a great night of sleep, or you researching one phrase on here that he said that you think might help you. It can be starting one new supplement. It doesn't have to be this deep dive into the deep end of the pool where you feel lost and stranded. And if you ever need anything, please reach out to me. It is at Healthy with Heather Brown on Instagram. I'm your best friend, and you guys are my best friend, and I want to support you in this health journey. You're all incredible. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next week. If y'all think I'm a little crazy, just wait till my favorite guest joins me in the Marriage Corner. It's my hubby, Eric. Hey, welcome back, Eric.
It's good to be back.
Woohoo! So, Eric, we were talking about something very important to me on today's episode. It's all about sleep. And you know that if I don't get my sleep, I get a little cranky, a little out of it.
That's an understatement.
No doubt. That is definitely one of my like weird mannerisms or characteristics. I would say I'm very extra about my sleep.
I learned very early on in our relationship how important sleep was to you, and our sleeping patterns are very different.
No doubt.
For each other. You know, obviously you said sleep is very important. It's very important for me as well, too. And I think as we learn more about overall health, we learn truly how important sleep is for recovery, for mental health, and basically just everything in between.
No doubt.
And I think you probably have one leg up on me as far as quality sleep is concerned. So I'll give you that one.
Yeah, for sure. So y'all, I am actually going to have to tell a story on myself from the early days of Eric and I's marriage. So it's actually like scientifically proven that men require less sleep than women. I just read this in an article recently, and I'm like, oh, thank God, because Eric, you do very well. I feel like on about 6 hours of sleep?
Yeah, about 6 to 8 hours of sleep. I mean, ideally I would like to get 8, and I think that is pretty much I think it is actually the scientific studies show it's 6 to 8 hours of sleep for the necessary requirements for recovery as far as physical health and just mental health as well, too.
Okay. Well, yes. But Eric, I swear, like he can sleep 5 or 6 hours on the rare occasion, and you can barely tell that you miss a beat in the morning. He is very much so a morning person. He's up. He's chipper. He's accomplishing things.
I will say the pre-workout Lit AF does help in the morning.
I'm like, Lit AF needs to sponsor us. You talk about Lit AF a lot on this podcast. But it is. You love Lit AF. So
no free advertising on this podcast.
It's GNC, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to find it, I'll try to link it in the show notes. But I thrive off of getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep is really when I actually feel my best, which I realize, like, obviously I can't very often get 10 hours of sleep, but if I go to bed and I don't set an alarm, I would say pretty much like without fail, my body is naturally waking up at about 10 hours of sleep. So I have kind of a funny story to tell about the first part of our marriage. And Eric, you can certainly chip in from your perspective.
All right.
So I am also a very active sleeper. I learned after getting married to Eric, he's told me that I thrash around in the sheets. I flip a lot. I, do all these things. I don't know if I do it as much now as in the beginning of our marriage. Have I calmed down some?
I'd say calm down a little bit, but yeah.
Okay, that's good. So why don't you tell them about the first time that you experienced my weird sleeping patterns and movement in the first year of our marriage?
Yeah, so this was very early on in our marriage. I would say probably within the first 1 to 2 months. We just got married, didn't have a lot of money, have a nice little 2-bedroom condo, 2-bed, 1.5 bath condo, and we're still just learning about marriage, kind of people are each other's sleep patterns, what time each person likes to go to sleep. And I feel like we kind of got along pretty pretty quickly with that and learned about the different patterns. But what I could not have predicted was about 6 weeks into our marriage. We're sleeping, no big deal. And I'm not sure exactly what time it was. I want to say somewhere between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. Usually you're in that dead sleep. If you wake up, you don't know sometimes where you are, what's going on. And, I'm sleeping. I'm just, really comfortable. It's just nice and cool. The pillow feels good. And all of a sudden, I just wake up and I feel something just kind of at the base of my neck. And I'm like, what the heck? And I immediately wake up and I realize very quickly that Heather's right hand is around my throat.
Yikes!
My eyes immediately get as wide as you can imagine. I'm pretty sure I sat straight up and I said, you can imagine, but basically WTF.
For sure.
Whip my hand off of her hand to get it off my neck. And I'm like, Heather, what are you doing? And she wakes up. She's just
I'm just as groggy.
Completely out of it. Huh? What? I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, yeah, your hand was just around my neck. At first I was like, well, this could be something kind of different. We could, anyways.
Lord. Rein it back in.
But anyways, so it takes Heather a couple minutes and she starts to describe. She's like, well, I was dreaming. And I was like, what were you dreaming about that would cause you to put your hand around my neck? Do I need to be concerned? We're only six weeks into our marriage. I'm going to wake up and be dead. Well, she proceeds to be like, well, Eric, I was having a dream.
I was clearly hungry. And Eric, one of my favorite snacks, it's Cheez-Its.
Anybody else love some Cheez-Its? Not extra toasty.
I
Classic.
can vividly remember in this dream, I was reaching into the cupboard and I was grabbing for a box of Cheez-Its. And I guess as I was doing that, your neck just got in the way. And I was like, all right.
You're like, wow, what have I gotten myself into?
All the Cheez-Its out of our condo. And I might need to invest in some kind of protection at night to prevent this. But so for the next, I would say 2 or 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure I slept with about one eye open to try and keep aware of the situation. But you know what? That was actually a one-off situation and haven't had too many other random events. Quick side note, both Heather and I did, when we were younger, we both had what's called night terrors. I'm not sure if people are aware of those.
Terrible.
So I'm not sure if maybe that played a little bit of a role, but basically real quick, it's basically you're having a nightmare when you are awake, and it's very difficult to wake up from that nightmare. But yeah, both Heather and I had that. We're hoping that our boys don't have that experience as well too. So far, fingers crossed.
So good.
But maybe that played a little bit of a role. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. I specifically remember that my night terror that I always had was my parents got me this probably about 5 foot long white tiger, obviously a stuffed animal that I loved as a kid. But unfortunately, my night terrors always surrounded white tigers chasing me. So my mom would, try to shake me to wake me up, and I would just be screaming, running from those white tigers. How scary would that be as a parent? Think about our parents. Poor things.
I bet it was more scary for you because that's one thing that I remember was just the petrifying, just, freeze you in your tracks, the fear associated with those night terrors. But side note, so kind of bringing it back, we're talking about how important sleep is and how I would say undervalued it is for overall health. And I had a question for you today in our marriage corner.
Can't wait.
And the question is, what do you think is one of the more underrated characteristics in a healthy relationship?
Oh man, I feel like there's so many directions that you could go with this question, which is why I like Eric's questions that he brings to each marriage corner. They're always great, babe. But I would say after kind of bouncing it around in my head a little bit, I'm going to go with being flexible. And luckily for you, I don't mean physically flexible because you are not very flexible.
What are you talking about? I am very flexible.
For a man. Okay, maybe you are for a man.
Very into flexibility. I'm a big proponent of yoga. Yeah, mobility.
Okay. When's the last time you did yoga, Eric Brown?
It's been a little while, but...
But you still got that flexibility?
Still pretty flexible, pretty limber.
Oh, gosh. So anyway, instead of going the physical route, though, of being flexible, I would say just that Eric and I, when you first get married, you're so much like
well, this is kind of the way that I do things. I feel like especially for people when they get married a little bit older. Eric's sister, Janelle, actually just got married this past year. And at 36, aren't we 36? Okay. Yeah. And well, at the time, 36. But anyway, so we were talking about how when you first get married, though, you're like having to learn each other's things and maybe you're a little bit set in your ways. So I would say that it's really important to me and I'm really thankful that I feel like have worked extra hard to be more flexible, to kind of meet me where I'm at, because Eric very much so likes things a certain way. He's very particular, especially, oh man, one of the biggest grading factors in our marriage early on was I would waste all the time of going to the grocery store, getting everything out of the bags, putting it away in the fridge. And then Eric would be like, the fridge is all wrong. This is not in the right space. It is not organized. I do not like it.
Well, yeah. You have your meats and cheeses drawer.
Sure.
You have your vegetables drawer. You might have a fruit drawer. Usually on the side panel or the side door of the refrigerator, you've got, your condiments.
Yeah, salad dressings.
Yeah, but your mind that wasn't really how you organize. Yours was just kind of like everything goes in the refrigerator.
No, that is not 100% true.
That is 100% true.
It's
very similar to how you loaded the dishwasher when we first got married as well, too.
Let's not even get started on that. He still gets mad at me about the dishwasher occasionally.
Oh my gosh. I don't think you played much Tetris as a child.
That is true.
Game Boy.
I did not.
So every time I look at a dishwasher, basically it is one big Tetris game. You're trying to figure out how all the different pieces fit together in order to win the game, or basically wash your dishes the most efficiently.
That's right. So I told Eric that what got on my nerves, though, was not that he was frustrated that I didn't organize it the best. It's not like I thought I organized it the best. I just was like, if you're not happy with it, I don't want to waste my time doing it. You just do it. And we've kind of come to an agreement on that, I feel like. So, and then I also feel like Eric's very flexible about, like, we don't have the same schedules. Like, he can't sleep in past 7 most mornings.
Yeah, 6:30.
Yeah. And so he'll be really flexible and be like, he'll let me sleep in on Saturday mornings and like get up with the boys when they get up, between like 8:45 and 9-ish, I would say. And you're really flexible also now when it comes to just realizing like, okay, this is really important to Heather and I don't care about it as much. So you kind of like let me have my things. But we actually were just talking with our friends, Matt and Elise, recently about this and how in general, each relationship, there's one spouse that's super like, I have to have it this way or else like it's all, going to crap. But then the other spouse is more so like, there's not really that much that's that important to me that I'm like willing to die on this hill.
So I will say, I do think that is important to have that balance. Now, obviously, you don't have to have those two roles in a relationship. And I would say it's important for the person that tends to be more flexible. And I think sometimes it can be misconstrued or mischaracterized as the person that basically is more go with the flow, that they don't care about things, because that's not always the case. And it is important, if there is something that's very important to you, to speak up.
True.
So even though I would say sometimes so are you saying that you're more flexible or I'm more flexible?
I'm definitely more flexible, but I feel like you have like, since the beginning of our marriage, you have become much more flexible.
I have become more flexible. And another thing we talk about as well, too, is that one of the reasons why our relationship, we feel like it works is because there are certain things that I trust you and your intuition, where I can say, you know what, I think Heather has this right, and I'm going to trust her intuition, even though I might have a very strong opinion on it, but I'm going to defer to her on this because I feel like this is her specialty. And then other times it's the exact same. You'll defer to me on whatever you feel like my specialty may be, whether it be finances or
refrigerators, dishwashers,
sleep patterns. I don't know, whatever it might be. But yeah, I think it's important to have that balance, have that communication, and trust one another when it comes to sometimes those difficult conversations.
Absolutely. And in fact, not too long ago, my friend Andrea even said to me, she said, Heather, I just have been observing you and Eric for a while. And she was like, you both have very strong personalities. How does that even work for this many years of marriage? I thought that was like a very interesting question she posed.
Yeah, that's quite the nice compliment.
It is. It is.
So are you ready for my most underrated characteristic in a healthy relationship?
Yes. I think everybody wants to hear yours.
So I would say one of the most underrated characteristics in a relationship is confidence in that relationship.
Okay, explain that.
So I would say sometimes maybe one person in a relationship can be, and a lot of this could be just because of personal, I don't know how to word this exactly, but where somebody may not be as confident in themselves, and sometimes that can be projected into the relationship. And I think it's very important for people to be confident in who they are. And granted, this is not always easy, and sometimes it's a long process to be confident in yourself. But if you're confident in yourself, I feel like that can then project into the relationship. And some of the most healthy relationships that I see are ones where both people are confident in themselves, but then also confident in their marriage. You know, if you're not confident in your marriage, a lot of times doubts can seep in. But if you're confident in what you have, you're confident in the commitment to one another, then that is going to play a huge role when you have issues in your marriage. And a lot of times if I'm talking with people and they may be having an issue with their relationship, I always try to instill that confidence. And that's one of the things that you do a great job of, is instilling encouragement in people. And that gives them that little extra strength, I think, to have those difficult conversations and to basically just believe in themselves and their relationship. Because if you believe together that your relationship is healthy and that you're going to come out the other side in a better position than you were before, then that is key, and it's gonna help, I would say, the overall big picture of your relationship.
Eric, I have kind of a specific question for you about that. So I think that you and I definitely at different points in our life have maybe felt more insecure than others. And there might be women listening to this right now that think like, yeah, I don't feel confident myself, so I don't know how to bring confidence to my marriage. What would you say as a male, maybe even like as a husband that's watched me not feel as confident through different parts of our relationship? How did you feel like you encouraged me, or what can they do to kind of work towards that confidence in themselves and the relationship?
I think one just very easy, tangible thing to do is to is to encourage or basically give confidence to the other person with just small words of encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
And to be intentional with that, because there's so many times that I think little tasks or just little things can go unsaid. And it's very important to be intentional about giving those words of encouragement. Hey, Heather, thanks for putting the dishes away. Thanks for going to the store. Thanks for doing this, and you do a lot of those things, and those little things build up, and that'll make the person in your relationship more confident over time. And I think that's just one very small, tangible way to help give confidence to one another in a relationship.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And I also think that, like, I noticed for sure yesterday when you said, thanks for going to the grocery store. I really appreciated that you said that. But Eric's family actually is really good at little compliments like that. Like, I remember the first time that we did a road trip. I can't remember if it was down to Panama City Beach to your grandparents' and parents' place, or if it was up to Indy to see your grandmother and your family. But I remember Eric likes to drive the majority of the time, I would say, but I also like to drive. So he will occasionally, let me drive for like an hour or two, especially if it's getting later at night and I'm more awake than he is, like we were talking about, those sleep patterns. And when we got there, Eric said, thanks for driving. And I was like, what? Thanks for driving? Like, my family never would have said that. And Eric was like, oh yeah, my family just always said that when you got somewhere.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure that is a Midwest thing.
Is it?
To
Okay.
always compliment somebody for driving or thank them for driving. So I'm pretty sure that is a Midwest thing. But now you do it as well too, and I always appreciate Eric. Thanks for driving. No problem. It's my pleasure. So,
Chick-fil-A, my pleasure.
Well, and also too, it goes back to my control issues of wanting to drive all the time as well too. So there is that. It's not completely a selfless act, if you will. But yeah,
too funny. Well, Eric, thank you for helping me do the podcast. I always have so much fun when you come on for the Marriage Corner, and we will.
Can I give a little teaser, because there's one story that I wanted to tell that maybe we can put into another segment. But I want to toot my own horn in another segment about confidence as far as our relationship is concerned. It was about 9 months into our relationship, and basically it's one of my more proud moments.
Oh my gosh, you just have to tell the story now.
No, can't do it.
All right, fine. Stay tuned for the next episode, guys. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Hey girl, hey! If you're loving the show, I would love to hear from you. Please be sure to go on over to your podcast app, scroll down to where it says ratings and reviews, and tell me your thoughts. It really does mean so much. Your words might just be what the next person needs to tune in and start living a healthier life from the inside out. Thanks!